This is the last Game Gear game I will be covering, because they didn't make any more after this. Wah wah. No, seriously, Sega released so many Game Gear games, it's insane. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Sonic Blast, a game that gets a lot of slack for, well, not looking very good, graphically speaking, but I think it's okay. I was actually going to give this game, like, this actually isn't that bad, but then I remembered, oh wait, it's made by Aspect, the people who made every other Game Gear game. So that means they add their stupid tubes that they can't stop putting in every single Sonic game they make, and I'm glad it's the last time I'll be looking at one of their games. So Sonic Blast doesn't have any development story. It's obviously supposed to be a tie-in with Sonic 3D Blast, and the graphics look like absolute crap because of it. It's actually not too bad, as a matter of fact, but overall it is a very unappealing art style. I think it has a little bit unique charm to it, but yeah, trying to make 3D rendered characters in 8-bit is not very appealing, to say the least. Here's the original Sonic Blast artwork. It's supposed to be similar to Sonic 3D Blast. Once again, they're using the janky early Sonic 3D model. It looks really bad. The Game Gear font on the side looks really weird. They had the blur smudge tool, and the logo looks like absolute crap too. They finally went on this design, which is very similar to the final product, but slightly off a little bit. Yeah, Sonic has little weird bean eyes, and the logo looks like absolute crap still. It looks even worse. Blast looks generic, but the Sonic has this weird, I'm not even sure what you call it, but the letters just look like this weird black outline in the blue. It's supposed to look 3D, but it just looks awful. Here's the almost final artwork. It's actually a higher quality image than the actual official artwork, oddly enough. You can see the 3D lettering in Sonic's name actually looks better in this picture, and overall it looks a little janky. Here's the final artwork. It looks still crappy, but this time Sonic's eyes have moved a little bit. So yeah, very exciting, I know. Oddly enough, Sonic Blast in Japan is known as Sonic G, or G Sonic, on the Kids Gear, which is the Game Gear. Yeah, this is incredibly weird. I don't think anyone even knows why it is that way. Though, gotta say, this artwork looks way better, even though Eggman looks a little creepy. Plus, he's missing his legs there. And here's the European box art, which looks like clip art. It looks pretty bad. It looks even worse than the American one. Oh, and here's the elusive Master System version of Sonic Blast. As you can see, it was released on the Master System only in Brazil. That's why you see the tech toy there. Let's look at the story. This is the Japanese story, which is told very similar to Sonic Labyrinth, and we even have the same art style and artwork for the manual here. So let's read what the story tells us. South Island, a peaceful island that is protected by the mysterious power of the Chaos Emerald. Sonic the Hedgehog, the hero who protecting the Chaos Emerald from the evil genius scientist Dr. Eggman, was resting on a palm tree hammock and enjoying a nap that day. However, the dazzling light suddenly illuminated Sonic. The glare was so strong that woke Sonic up to find that the Chaos Emerald he had in his hand was spinning violently, shining like never before. What's happening? In front of Sonic's eyes, the Chaos Emeralds were shining stronger and more intensely until it finally shattered with a high-pitched sound into 5 shards that flew away in the distance. Then a familiar voice could be heard from above. He shocked Sonic. Da ha ha ha! What an unexpected opportunity! Da ha ha ha! Yep, that was Dr. Eggman's awful voice. You're Eggman, haven't you had enough? Eggman ignored Sonic's words and continued to speak in a goofy voice. Da ha ha, Sonic. When the beam was aimed at you, hit the Chaos Emerald. I was wondering what was about. What? I think this was badly translated, if you couldn't tell. What was about to happen, but this is an unexpected surprise. Eggman was glaring at Sonic. I, the great genius scientist, Dr. Eggman, am going to build a great fortress on this island. Now that the Chaos Emerald is gone, its name will be the Silver Castle. Don't worry, I'll find the Chaos Emeralds after the fortress is completed. Da ha ha ha! Eggman is in a good mood, thinking he has defeated Sonic. However, at the same time, another voice echoes from behind a nearby tree. I can't keep quiet when I hear of the Chaos Emeralds. And what appeared from behind the tree was Knuckles, who overheard the situation. Sonic and Knuckles tell Dr. Eggman, "We'll crush your ambitions." If you couldn't tell, in this game you have the option to choose between Sonic or Knuckles. And Knuckles is basically acts the same as Sonic, but this time he can glide, so he's basically better than Sonic since he doesn't have any limitation he did in Sonic 3. Where's Tails? I have no idea. Why was Knuckles listening behind Sonic instead of guarding the Master Emerald? I have no idea. Why does Eggman not care about the Chaos Emeralds being gone? Why does he want to build a random fortress on this random island when Sonic's right there in front of him? I have no idea. The story kind of sucks ass. Sonic Blast is an extremely short game and very sloppily put together. As you can probably tell, the gameplay is basically the same we've seen, except more limited because the screen is so crunched up. So most level designs are easy for the most part, like I said, to the end. And a lot of the weird physics here, like you can see, running up that is just basically pointless. A lot of the physics comes to turning around objects. While they did try to attempt to put it in there, they did fail miserably. Sonic feels a little janky, but overall not too horrible control. Feels about the same as he does in the other games. But there's luckily not a whole lot of obstacles at the beginning of the game until we get to some lame stuff. What does help this game out a little bit is the fact that Sonic has a double jump. Since Knuckles is a glide, he has a double jump. This actually makes the gameplay not as bad since you can have more maneuverability in air. Like I said, having an extra option for jumping helps a lot, especially in these type of games where the level design isn't the greatest. And the levels are incredibly short, you probably could tell. They have the stupid ring things that have the end where the flag pull creates something else. And overall, it's pretty easy. In the levels, Sonic will find rings. Only in Act 1 and 2, there's only one per each one. And basically, this is the special stage. Essentially, there's like only, there's like 5 Chaos Emeralds. There's only 5 levels. Even though there's 2 acts, and each act can get a special stage. For some reason, the gameplay developers decided like only Act 2 can get it. And these rings are kind of hard to find, even if the level design is limited. It's actually surprising. I found 2 of them throughout the entire game, which is really annoying. Overall, the puzzle stages are pretty basic. You're running a 3D plane similar to Sonic 3, and you're trying to collect the rings while using springs, speed panels, and avoiding bumpers that bump you back, even though they're kind of useful, I guess. Overall, it's kind of awkward because Sonic moves left and right so slowly, so when I played later on, to actually try to get a Chaos Emerald, didn't work. And yeah, it does unlock a different final boss, but honestly, who cares? Anyway, the player will start off in their first zone, Green Hill Zone. Yeah, they didn't even try to come up with a unique name. It doesn't even really look like Green Hill Zone, to be honest. It's the one time they just copy it, but it doesn't. I mean, it has some elements. You know, are we on South Island? I have no idea. I don't think it was even called that. Was it when we were doing the story? The Silver Castle. Is that on South? Is this South Island? I guess it says South Island. The Silver. Okay. It just says it's near on according to the wiki, so I don't know. I guess Sonic starts off on Green Hill Zone, South Island, and yeah, that's Green Hill Zone. Also, by the time I was looking that up, I already beat Act 1 because the game is incredibly easy. Layers are called Badniks here, but they're the same ones we've seen already. In case you're wondering, those Badniks are Buzzer, Coconuts, and Masher. I guess they act the same way they did in the other previous games. I'm actually glad I don't have to bring up enemies. There is new enemies in this game, but for this act, we actually have returning enemies, which is nice, you know? Sonic needs to have more consistency with the enemies returning. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Overall, they are pretty basic, and I run past them, so they don't even really challenge me. I do see them like in other Sonic games where they seem to have a lack of enemies. But overall, this is pretty basic. Also, here's one of the tubes. At first, it seems like, oh, it's one little tube. Later on, we'll get to see a crap ton of tubes, and you know how much I hate tubes in these Sonic 8-bit games. We get to our first boss in Act 3. Act 3 is just basically the boss stage. There's a couple little bit of level. Eventually, all the Eggman boss fights are very similar. We gotta hit his glass. This one's actually really easy. I actually found myself bouncing on him actually a lot of times because the hitbox is really weird. You gotta hit him just right in order to hit him. It's not too difficult, but at the same time, it's a little annoying. Not that it really matters. As you can see, he throws triangle, and it's easy to avoid, and I easily beat him, so bye-bye Eggman. The next act is Yellow Desert Zone, a basic desert level. It's as easy as the first Green Hill Zone in the game, where there's very little obstacles, only 2 enemies, including Batbot, a returning enemy that we've seen before. There's one new enemy. This is Sand Doom. It's just a little doom in the sand. It sucks. One thing to note about this game is that the rings are pretty easy to collect, just quite a lot of rings, as well as the fact that if you have a certain amount of rings, you won't lose all of them. As you can see, I got hit by a spike, I had 20, and I only lost 5 rings, which is actually kind of useful and nice. We've broken in other Sonic games, but here you kind of need it because the screen is so limiting. It's just so hard to find where you're going a lot of times. Also, for some reason, this weird meteor thing, I don't really understand it, and it wasn't hard at all. It actually just took me right to the end, so I have no idea what the point of this thing is. Like, it doesn't even fit in a desert. Like, it looks like something you'd see in a space level, but whatever. The boss fight is pretty unique. This is the Yellow Desert Zone boss. Eggman thinks it's a good idea to reference Journey to the West, which... was there a desert in that story? I don't really know. Either way, it is a neat reference, because why not? The boss fight other than that is actually really easy, since it's so easy to avoid his spear and hit him, so you'll be defeating this guy in less than a snap. The next zone is Red Volcano Zone, which, despite being called Red Volcano, it sure looks like it's a purple volcano, because look at all the purple I see around me. Overall, it's just a volcano. There's lava, but like I said, the game isn't really difficult. There's this one part that was annoying as hell, but the reason to go up this is to find that run ring that takes you to the special stage. But like once again, it only gives you the one extra life, so it's basically useless. So screw that. There is a bunch of stuff. There's weird air pusher things, and there's spikes that kill Sonic, and there's a guy that doesn't count as a badnik according to the wiki there that shoots Sonic up. So I have no idea what that even is. Yeah. There's two badniks other than that one. I guess doesn't hurt you, so it doesn't count, even though it looks like it has a face that is there. So the two badniks are ones we already seen in the previous Sonic games, being Gula and Rexon. I'm assuming you watched my previous Sonic videos because why not? I mean, why would you be watching Sonic Blast video first? Playlist is on my channel, in case you're wondering. Sonic game reviews. Go check it out. It's a retrospective. It makes sense to not to start the first game and not Sonic Blast. I actually don't have a lot to say about this game because it doesn't do anything unique, to be honest. Other than the graphics, it's pretty basic. And the fact they go down the same landslide as they did in the previous ones, the feature levels being just annoying, kind of sucks. Overall, Red Volcano, Yellow Desert, and Green Hill Zone have very little to offer. They're super basic, super easy. There is elevators, but we've seen that so many times before. The game recycles what to Sonic elements, but does it in the least interesting way possible. The boss is kind of weird. It's the Red Volcano boss. You can tell these bosses don't have great names. Eggman comes up on this spring and you gotta hit him, which seems annoying at first because it's kind of hard to predict where he's going to come, but he comes from left and right and shoots a rock at you. I learned a pretty easy trick to defeat this guy. All you gotta do is use your double jump, and you get more airtime, so it's easier to land where he's going to be. So ultimately, if you do that, this guy shouldn't be too hard, even though it looks like I'm failing right here. Once I learned the strategy, I was good to go. The next level is Balloon Marine Zone, and it's easily the worst zone in the game. At first, I've been breaking through bricks and all fine dandy, but this is when they really introduce pipes. As I mentioned already in this video and every other Sonic 8-bit video that Aspect's made, they love their stupid pipes so much, and they're just annoying puzzles that take forever, aren't fun, and aren't interesting. In fact, this level has very little air bubbles. The only way you get air is going for these pipes, and they make Sonic flings there. It's very unclear where you're supposed to go. You have to do some annoying platforming to get to point A to point B. And basically we're underwater. The gameplay wasn't that great, but it wasn't terrible. Now underwater, Sonic, of course, has all his momentum fucked up. So, but yeah, it's not fun. It's terrible. Here's the boss, the Blue Marine Zone boss. He shoots a harpoon, and if he shoots down, he'll give you an air bubble, which you need, because you will drown. Basically, your momentum's messed up, so it's very hard to hit him because of how slow it is. And this boss fight is just kind of more annoying than anything else. I never been hit by a spear a single time, because he is a terrible boss fight overall. Boss fights should not be boring. That's just the main thing about boss fights, and this boss fight is a definition of boring. All the badniks, once again, are from previous Sonic games, including Aquas, Crab Meat, and Octopus, which the Sonic Wiki tells me was in Sonic 3D Blast. It looks more like the Octopus from Sonic 2. I did say Octopus, I just referenced that one. Anyway, the badniks look like crap. The level sucks. There's a bunch of confusing shit in it. It makes you want to quit the game, and overall, it sucks. I guess I failed here multiple times. I don't care that I use save states in some of these games because I didn't feel like I don't want to get resetted or something like that because some of the stuff is just so brain-numbingly annoying to deal with. You don't want to deal with it again. That's the start of the game. This is at this point. The next zone is Silver Castle Zone, and it has a very similar gimmick to what we've seen before. Transporters this time, so very similar to pipes, but transporters. Act 1 is usually the worst part, where you gotta power up ones, and you gotta figure out where each one goes, and nothing's very clear in the level layout, so I had to use a map. Pretty much everything about this zone sucks, including these weird things that charge up some of the transporters for some reason. I don't really know. There is new enemies in this game, or badniks in this zone, I should say. Overall, nothing's very clear. It was very annoying. And it's just a generic final boss area, but instead of being like an interesting, hard level, it's just fucking annoying. The first of the three badniks is known as Egg Pogo. It's a pogo stick badnik that's shaped like an egg, I guess. Just bounce it up and down, and it's kind of annoying because there's not a whole lot of these, so they kind of suck. Then we got Egg Sentry, even less of these guys. For some reason, all these enemies seem like they're really hard to hit. Like, I hit them and they like bounce back. I don't know if they have. I know one of them has spikes on the side, I guess, but some of these guys just feel like they're just really annoying, especially the Egg Pogo, which I feel like I get hit by it too many times. These guys shoot little bullets at you, so ooh, very scary. And the last guy is the most annoying badnik in the game, Egg Saucer, and for some reason they gave this guy artwork. No one other pendant got artwork but this guy. Maybe the other ones did got artwork, but I didn't bother looking at them since they aren't new to the game. These guys are just won't let you hit them. They won't let you hit them. You have to hit them at a very precise angle, it feels like. So I hate these guys. Anyway, let me get past the Act 1 here at least. Act 2 and 3 aren't very hard, but Act 1 is just very annoying. So I had to use a map, which I'm not very proud of. I really shouldn't have to use a map in a Sonic game. Maybe Tails Adventure being the only exception, since Metroidvania sometimes you need a map. But no, this one I needed a map, and that's kind of pathetic. The final boss is just super weird, and it takes forever. Actually, this isn't the final boss. The final boss, if you play it like everyone else probably did, because the Chaos Emeralds are no annoying to find. Eventually, Eggman is shooting lasers at you, and you gotta shoot a mirror back at him and avoid the ones shooting at you. But you gotta turn this mirror at him to hit him. And for some reason, this guy takes like 20 hits, so it takes forever. It's not really a well-designed boss fight. It's kind of annoying, so overall, it's kind of boring. Because, oh, well, here's going to shoot on the right. You can't even swap it fast enough, so you gotta keep it in the middle, I guess. But just better just keep it on one side for the most part, and just jump over it. And you won't have a problem since then. It's kind of numbingly lame. Like, I don't know what they were thinking when they designed this boss fight. So after that, Sonic sees the Death Egg falling. Huh? The only thing I've heard in the manual is talking about the Silver Castle. Well, that's not castle, that's a Death Egg, and it's going to the ocean. But Eggman flew away, so I guess that means I got the bad ending. Whatever, I don't really care. That's really... It looks like I did a good job. I destroyed the Death Egg. It wasn't even clear there was a Death Egg. It's called Silver Castle. It's not even a castle. So if you get the Chaos Emeralds, you get to fight this amazing boss fight. I didn't, so I'm using someone else's footage. Link should be in the description. The reason I didn't do this because it was such a hard thing to find all of them. The game wasn't that... I said I was going to do it if, one, there was something to get, like a final boss, or two, that the game started off as easy as the rest of the levels were. But turns out the game was going to be BS with pipes and water physics and teleporters, so I'm not going to replay it, even though the game is kind of short. But yeah, as you can see, the boss fight has really nothing to offer here. Eggman's face is on a screen, and it's kind of an egg, and he does certain things, but it looks like it's pretty easy to avoid stuff, so overall, not more fighting. And to make matters worse, you get the same exact cutscenes if Eggman is on Fly Out, so I guess he drowned to death. Awful game. Oh, in case you're wondering, here's what the Knuckles ending looks like. For some reason, Knuckles' shoes here looks like Shadow shoes, but oh well, he's juggling some Chaos Emeralds. Isn't that lovely? Where is the blast processing? That was what I was asking myself the whole time I was playing this piece of junk. It's not very good. It started off as just an okay game to just a very quickly bad game. Aspect has learned very little from making Sonic games for, well, 5 years at this point, and I think this is the last one they made. I'll tell myself if I'm wrong later on. Overall, not very impressive game. It's one I don't recommend seeking out because it has very little to offer. When might start off like seemingly okay, it just gets worse and worse the more you play it. And overall, it feels like a half-assed product of trying to reach demand. And at this point, in 1996, while we were releasing a Sonic game on Game Gear, the Game Gear felt dead at this point. It felt dead already in 1995, let alone 1996. I mean, I know the Game Boy was still going around at this point, but I don't know what Sega was thinking at this point. Who cares? Honestly, Sonic Blast, I tried to give the benefit of the doubt, and at first, I kind of liked what I was playing, and then I kept playing it, and it disappointed me. Sonic 3D Blast, being a later release Game Gear game, is a little more expensive. It's the complete price of $100. Her loose price isn't really that bad at $30. It's really a lot more than your average Sonic game. If you want Sonic 1 to Chaos or Triple Trouble, you're paying a lot less than $30, and they're better games, honestly, for the most part. I think Sonic 2 Game Gear is worse than Sonic Blast, but overall, it's not a game worth seeking out unless you're a Sonic collector like me. This is the last time I'm going to mention Sonic Adventure DX until I talk about Sonic Adventure. As you probably know from my other videos, Sonic Adventure DX has a feature that allows you to get Game Gear games by getting a certain number of emblems. I think it's like 30 something. I'm not too sure actually on the top of my head. I don't think it's a bad idea at all to use this game to play Game Gear games because, one, if you like Sonic Adventure like me, you already have all the emblems, and you get one great game with a bunch of little micro games in it. What's not to love? Sonic Gems Collection does not feature Sonic Blast, but for some reason there's an unlockable demo of the game's ending. I have no idea why you want to play the ending of Sonic Blast, the worst part of it, but that's what, if you want to do that, go ahead. It's Sonic Gems Collection. The game at some point was available on the 3DS Virtual Console, but like I said, it's not there anymore because the Virtual Console shut down. RIP. Sonic Origins Plus is the best way to play Game Gear games if you don't emulate them and want them console, since it has all the Game Gear games. Master System version is usually better, but whatever. It's on Switch, Steam, PS5, 4, Xbox One, and Series X. All the good little nuggets. Sonic Blast is very low on the list for obvious reasons mentioned in the video. While at first I thought this was going to be a decent romp, if it was easy, it'd be fine. It's an on-the-go game, but the pipe stuff, like, man, they needed to stop with that. It was just annoying at this point. And overall, I'm glad that I'm done talking about the Game Gear games. They're just not that fun. If you want to know the ranking of the Game Gear games, well, there you have it. Tails, Sky Patrol, Worse, Sonic Drift, Tails Adventure, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Sonic Blast, Sonic Drift 2, Sonic Chaos, Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic Triple Trouble, and Sonic Labyrinth. Yes, Sonic Labyrinth's my favorite Game Gear game. Sue me.